Representative Geraldine Roman.
Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat and happy Women's Month to all of us. Indeed, this is a great honor to be in front of you. It just shows how big the hearts of women are. To be inclusive, to be accepting, to be understanding, to be embracing, just like mothers are. Kasi alam nyo, not everybody accepts me for who I am, or maybe for the decisions I may have taken in my life. But so far, my journey has been in general very positive, most especially because of the women who surround me and the women I deal with on a daily basis at work, at home, in my town, in my province. Kaya maraming salamat po sa lahat ng kababaihan. Anyway, many people ask me, Geraldine, ikaw ba nag-e-enjoy ka na you're always known not as the first district representative of Bataan, but more so as the first transgender woman to hold a seat in Congress? You want me to tell you the truth? Hindi talaga. I don't want that aspect of my life, that facet of my being to define me as a whole. I am more than a transgender woman. I would like to think of myself as I would think of you, just ordinary human beings. But you know what? I can't blame people. Transgenderism is not a thing that is commonly known in the Philippines. Maybe in the United States, maybe in Europe, but not in the Philippines. So if I have to go through the pains of having to explain what transgenderism is, in order to raise awareness for my brothers and sisters in the LGBT community, then so be it. So be it. Let me tell you a story, my life story, what it is to be a transgender, growing up, transitioning, blossoming, and developing my full potential, and landing where I am today. I was born, sige na nga, 50 years ago. Hindi naman halata. Talang ganyan. So, family, we were three boys. And then my father was your typical macho politician with his good looks and his mustache. And my mother was your typical housewife, very religious, very Catholic. My brothers would play with their guns. They would play with their male friends. And I would play with dolls. I would play with my girl cousins. And for me, that was the most natural thing to do. Nobody taught me how to play with dolls. Nobody forced me to play with dolls. It just came out naturally. I was enjoying myself, and so were my girl cousins. But then I noticed that everybody around me, the adults, would tell me, "Hoy, huwag ka maglaro niyan. Pambabae yan eh." Di ba babae ako? "Hoy, huwag kang kumilos ng ganyan. Baka lokohin ka, baka tuksuhin ka. Dapat ganito, dapat ganyan." And as a child, I could not understand why. Because I was just being myself. Which is why I wonder why many people, when they ask me, "Oh, when did you decide, Geraldine, to become a woman?" I did not decide to become a woman. Did you decide to become a woman? Or to identify as women? No, you did not. Many people ask me, "So when did you realize you were a woman?" More or less the same age as all of you here. Maybe around 2 or 3, but as children we did not label these behavior, this self-identification as being male or female. We were just being ourselves. So yan, fast forward tayo. Nag-aral din ako sa all-boys school. And it was not easy. You know, children can be very, very cruel. But, you know, from this vantage point, I understand it. But during that time, I was suffering. I was suffering because masakit talagang mabuli, to be insulted and called names. But I was lucky because the Jesuits at Ateneo were very kind to me, very supportive. They even guided me and gave me valuable advice on how to handle the bullying. They would tell me, you study hard and excel in academics. That is how you gain the respect of your classmates. But anyway, my experience at Ateneo taught me very valuable lessons. The Jesuits taught me that God loves me for who I am. And they also taught me that God looks beyond the gender. He looks at the heart. So I'm very comfortable with my relationship with God, despite the occasional bashing that I get from radical Christians who have already sent me to hell ahead of time. But you know what? I keep thinking, you should go ahead. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. And who would judge me without really knowing the person that I am. So I went to UP for college, and that is when I discovered that there were other people like me. And I began to understand what being transgender was like. Little by little, I would transition and would be more comfortable in my own skin. And then after graduation, I received a scholarship to study in Spain. Doon na talaga ako nag-boom. Doon talaga ako nag-blossom. You know why? I remember the first time I went to this very big department store. I was 22. I was naive. I was young and fresh. Papasok sana ako dun sa men's comfort room kasi sa UP, nakasanayan ko po that I would go to the bathroom when all the men left. Kasi at that time, I had long hair already. At takot po ako na baka maharas ako sa banyo. And I would wait, buti nga hindi ho ako na UTI eh. But in Spain, I went to El Corte Inglés. I went to the men's bathroom. And then, there were men at the door. They said, no, señorita. Aquí no está, eh? This is not the right place. You have to go to the ladies' room. And I thought, wow, edi maganda. And that was the start of my life as a woman in Spain. For the first time, I was able to focus on my studies. I was able to focus on meeting friends. I was able to focus on traveling and enjoying the art and culture of Spain, which are things that make me passionate about. And I was focusing on so many things that would help me develop as a person without having to be sad and bitter with my body. After my stint at university in Spain, I finally decided that I should complete the transition. So I went with New York together with my father. Imagine, my father, that macho politician with a beard. He came and picked me up in Spain and brought me to New York, and together we looked for the best surgeon possible, the best psychotherapist. He was there to provide me moral support. But shortly before taking that final decision, I had to go back to the Ateneo to talk to my Jesuit mentors. Because as a Catholic, I want to analyze all of the aspects of any decision in my life. In this case, the moral and the spiritual aspects. And I went back and saw our high school guidance counselor, the very same person who saw me through the turmoil of growing up a transgender person, Brother Dan. And I asked him, Brother Dan, these are my options. And he told me this. He was smiling. He told me that he expected that that day would come, and told me, Geraldine, the body is just a shell. If you feel that by modifying the outside, you can become a happier, more loving, more generous person, then go ahead. Because God looks at your heart and not what you have in between your legs. And that, I believe so. So I was able to complete my transition in New York. When I woke up, there was my father with a bouquet of white roses, and he even set up a small altar filled with stampitas of my favorite saints by my bedside. And the rest is history. I met a man who loved me and accepted me, and I'm still with him I've been with him for the past 19 years. He's a Spaniard. Guapo siya. Matangkad din siya. And that is my life. But you're wondering, what are you doing here back in the Philippines? In 2012, my father fell ill, and I had to return the love that he had showed me. And during those intimate moments with him, when we would have these very personal conversations, he asked me, Geraldine, wala kang anak. What is the purpose of your life? Wow. Very deep question. Is it not enough that I work, that I save, that I travel, I shop like the rest of the human race? He told me, no. Remember this, Geraldine. And I guess this message is good for all of us. As long as your life revolves around the me, the I, myself, your life has no true meaning. So I took it as a personal challenge way back in 2012 for me to continue in the tradition of service of my family. We've been in public service for the past 38 years. And it is true, what he told me. I have finally found true meaning in my life. So my dear friends, I'm in Congress, and I'm trying to push forward legislation that will help your brothers and sisters in the LGBT community, your friends and your neighbors from the LGBT community, your classmates, your Twitter and Facebook buddies from the LGBT community. I have the anti-discrimination bill based on SOGI, and soon we will also be pushing for civil partnerships. I hope that you will also find it in your heart to understand these bills. We are not asking for special privileges. We're just asking for equal rights, just like the rest of the Filipinos. And remember this, and this we should also tell the men, that recognizing the rights of women and recognizing the rights of the LGBT community will in no way diminish yours. Join me in the fight for equality, not just gender equality, but equality in all senses of the word. Join me in bringing about a more inclusive, even if it's diverse, very inclusive society and change in our country. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Representative Roman. We'd like to call, can move here to the middle, where there's the Women Make Change signage. We'd like to call in the chairperson from the Philippine Commission on Women, Dr. Bukoy, and the executive director from the Philippine Commission on Women, Emeline Versosa, to give you our token of appreciation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Very much. Thank you. Ma'am, would you mind if we stay a bit for a couple of questions? I really appreciate the perspective that you've shown about who God is in your life and how God has paved the way, especially your father, how these men...
You know, many people have asked me, how do you reconcile the fact that you're a Catholic and a transgender? This is how I view things. What is so evil about being true to oneself. I think that is what God wants us to be true to ourselves. Because in the first place, the LGBT did not choose to be LGBT. It is not a matter of choice. If it is not a matter of choice, therefore, you cannot attach a moral judgment to our condition. Can you blame the fish for knowing how to swim? Can you blame dogs for barking? It's just part of their nature. And so, it's the same thing with the LGBT community. And I believe that we have a loving, merciful, and compassionate God who knows us and who looks at the heart. So that's how reconcile is not even an accurate term. That's how I associate my being transgender with being Catholic or Christian.
Thank you very much, Representative Roman. We have a couple of questions. Oh yes, please, from the back. Please. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Janine. Ma'am, I'd just like to ask, nakaranas po ba kayo ng pressure from other male or female representatives in the Congress? And my second question will be, if your mother or your father and all your friends or other family or relatives had not been supportive, what do you think yung mga nagtulak para maging empower po kayong babae? Salamat po.
Yan, kahit tanungin nyo si Representative Aglipay Villar, my friends and colleagues in Congress welcome me with open arms. They treat me with respect, with the respect and dignity that every human being deserves. They have treated me as an equal. So I think we have to give credit to the 17th Congress for being an open-minded Congress, much in line with this administration. This administration is very progressive in many aspects too. Well, sa second question mo, no, it's been always love and acceptance on the part of my entire family and my friends. What has empowered me to be who I truly am? The fact that I know that there is nothing wrong with being oneself. Hindi naman ako nananakit na ibang tao. Wala naman akong sinasagasaan. Be true to yourself. Alam nyo, the biggest battle I think that one can wage is yung lalabanan mo yung sarili mo. So, there are things that you just have to accept. Number one, who you are, your gender identity, or your sexual orientation, and be happy with it. And I think that society has to recognize that, we have no choice but to accept each other for whom we truly are. Yun lamang.
Thank you very much. Do we have more questions? Yes, there's one more.
Good afternoon, ma'am. What is your advice to women and men who are still afraid to come out?
I respect their decision not to come out, Kasi maybe they fear that they're going to be rejected. Or maybe they think that society is not yet ready, or that in their workplace they will not be accepted. So my advice is that just live your life with utmost normalcy, as most of us try to do, but to never be ashamed of themselves. The time will come when they will gain that confidence and the courage to come out, but it doesn't have to be like a coming out party with all of the fireworks. Just be yourself. Hindi naman tanga mga katrabaho natin o mga kaeskwela o mga kapitbahay natin. Malalaman at malalaman din yan.
Thank you very much. I think we have one last question and then we need to move on. Thank you.
Magandang hapon po. Kagalang-galang na Congresswoman. Ang gusto ko lang pong malaman kung saan po maaari magpunta yung mga kababaihan o yung mga miyembro ng LGBT na nagkakaroon ng pakiramdam na sila po ay nadi-discriminate sa work. Kasi ako po ay nag-represent ng National Labor Relations Commission. At meron pong mga nagpupunta sa amin na ang cause of action nila ay illegal dismissal because merong discrimination, yung mga ganun po. ang nasasagot lamang po doon ay yung mga kadahilanan ng kanilang pagtanggal sa tungkulin. Pero yung discrimination, saan po sila maaaring lumapit?
Kaya nga po tayo nagsusulong ng panukalang batas na anti-discrimination bill based on SOGI, or what we call now the SOGI Equality Bill. Ang problema kasi paglalapit sa mga ahensya ng pamahalaan na katulad ng sa inyo, ay walang batayan upang kasuhan ang mga employers. But this bill will fill that legal void. And now we will have a basis to file cases against employers, school administrators, or government officials, or owners of commercial and public establishments who discriminate against members of the LGBT community. All LGBTQ executives, from the barangay captains, all police enforcers, members of the executive branch of the government, can use this bill, this law, once passed, to protect the rights of our brothers and sisters in the LGBT community. So, sana po, suportahan po niyo ito. Tandaan nyo, ito po ang susi para maging maganda po at inclusive ang ating lipunan.
Salamat.
Maraming salamat.
We have one more follow-up question.
Ma'am, yes, follow-up question po. In po bang merong mga discrimination naman dahil sa kanilang, sabihin nating HIV na sakit? Kasama po ba doon sa pinoprotektahan sa bill na ito?
Meron pa po tayong isa pang panukalang batas. Ang tawag po dito ay Comprehensive Anti-Discrimination Bill. Ang basehan po nito ay ang edad, ang civil status, ang gender, ang medical condition, people with disabilities, lahat po ng possible causes of discrimination. Hiwalay po to dun sa SOGI Equality Bill. But the essence is the same. To identify the situations of discrimination at the workplace, in schools, in government agencies, in commercial and public establishments, and properly penalize these behaviors. Yun po ang aming panukalang
So where do
batas.
these people go?
The same po. Kung kayo po ay merong labor case, you go to the DOLE, you go to a lawyer, a labor specialist, you report it to your barangay captain, you report it to your konsehal, lahat po ng members ng ating executive branch. Pwede po. Tapos sila na po ang magagabay sa inyo. But ang laging channel niyan is the legal channel. Kailangan po magdemanda tayo.
Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat.
So it expands lang the list,
Yes.
the menu of
the
indications
basis.
for
The
discrimination.
basis, yes.
I think ma'am, we have one last question. Yes, please do. That's why we have this space to ask them questions that.
Hello, good afternoon, Representative Roman. I'm just wondering, where do you get your courage, since we know that it's a rigorous process for your endeavor in pursuing equality rights for the LGBT community, and you've been very courageous in your advocacy. So where do you get your courage po?
I draw my courage from the knowledge that I have been blessed. I have been very fortunate. Not everyone has had the same kind of love and support that I got from my own family. Not everyone has been able to study or to go abroad and to be able to avail of the medical procedure that I was able to avail of. Not everyone was able to enjoy the same civil liberties and rights and laws that I enjoyed while living in Europe. So this is what gives me courage, the knowledge that it is possible in other countries, therefore it is also possible in our own country. And I want the same kind of benefits and rights and privileges for my brothers and sisters here in the Philippines.
Thank you very much.